All right, another prominent area of civil rights is equitable treatment for those with disability, whether they be physical or any kind of intellectual disabilities. And like again, the 14th Amendment sort of requires everybody to be treated equally under the law, and that's regardless of like race, gender, areas we've already talked about, and also areas of regarding disability. So, one of the most impactful, significant laws ever passed in American history was the ADA that was passed in 1990, and that stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Americans with Disabilities Act prevents any kind of discrimination in really every area of public life. Um, it's against those with disabilities, and again, it's meant to provide equitable like treatment and opportunity. So I think in the course of your lifetime, you wouldn't really see like the changes because these are things that you've just grown up with. But I was 13 when the Americans with Disabilities Act went into effect, and like I can remember life like prior to this law being implemented. Many of the things that you're just used to were not commonplace before the passage of this act. So, such as like closed captioning that exists on all of your televisions at home. It's like, something you've grown up with, it's not a big deal. But like closed captioning was mandated essentially by the Americans with Disabilities Act for those that were hearing impaired. Or the idea of, um, you know, like a curb, like a sidewalk in your community, right? And having sort of the depression, the dip at the end of it to make them wheelchair accessible. Like that wasn't common prior to 1990. Or the idea within like places of business that the aisles would have to be a certain width to make them like wheelchair accessible. Bathrooms would have to have accommodations. Or even like the idea of seeing like the mass transportation, like SEPTA buses that actually have the hydraulics on them to like lower the bus in order to allow people that may be in a wheelchair to have access to like the bus and public transportation. Like again, we sort of take these things for granted because they've been around for a while now since this law was passed in 1990. But these were things that didn't exist prior to that. So when we talk about civil rights, it really runs like the whole spectrum of really anybody that is believing that they are being treated differently under the law has an argument that their 14th Amendment rights are being violated, whether that be race, gender, or disability. These are all sort of like avenues in which the government has attempted to take positive steps to provide the equality that these groups have sought and justly deserve.